Hey everyone, welcome to Can't Afford to Record, the YouTube channel where we figure out the art of audio production together. And today I'm going to be diving into the world again of digital guitar sounds, amp simulators, and while I am a fan of the Logic Amp Designer, it's hard to ignore the fact there are other companies and other amp simulators out there, and so today I am checking out the STL AmpHub package. So a little bit of a shootout today. I'm going to just tell you about my experiences with the Logic Amp Designer and with STL AmpHub. I've paid for a month of membership on it because I wanted to use it on a track that I'm working on right now. And then I thought I'd make a video on my experience sort of using it and what I found out about it. So let's jump into Logic. Here we go. Logic has a lot of amps, but my first real problem with Logic Amp Designer is it's very cryptic. There's various other ones that look like this, and with STL AmpHub there's a good, you kind of already know what model amp they are using. So I guess that's why I decided on, let's just try and go for the most obvious one that I can, pair up the two, but I still don't really know if I got it quite right with this one. So there are things like that which are kind of already an unfair comparison between the two, because I don't really know what I'm working with. I just sort of know the type or style that I'm working with. I think it's very clear right off the get-go that this is not a big high-gain Marshall sound that I feel like they're saying it is in here in Logic. It doesn't feel like there's anywhere near enough gain. And I said this actually back when I did another video on Logic's Amp Designer, which you can see around about here somewhere. And I was sort of working with the orange style amp. And I think I said then, there's not enough gain on these amps. I feel like I've got to put something before it. So with that being said, when you turn this gain all the way up and you start messing around with the master and whatnot, to my ears, it starts to get fuzzy and just not very nice at all. So I have decided to put a tube screamer before it. This is one from Brainworks, and this is what it sounds like. So I'm going to switch it on now and you'll hear the difference already. I'll just toggle this tube screamer on and off. So another big difference between Logic's Amp Designer and something like STL AmpHub is it's pretty outdated when it comes to cab sim and what mics you can use. Now, there are various different selections of mics. You've got 421s, they don't outright say it, but you know what they're really talking about here. We're using a 57 for now, and you're able to move the microphone back and place it in different places of the cone, but that is it. You can't angle the microphone, and you can only use one microphone at a time. There's not an option to blend. With STL AmpHub, you do have the option to blend, and you can head over to their speaker cab simulator here, and you've got two different speakers. You could have two different microphones. I have selected, a G12, I guess it's like based on a Celestion G12 4x12 cab, and you can angle the microphone, you can change the different placement of it, and like I say, you have the other speaker, you could have a different microphone, a different speaker type, and you can blend them together up here. Now, because Logic can't do that, I am just using the one speaker and using the SM57 style of microphone. Just to keep it kind of fair between the two, but I have to say it's limiting because you can get some really nice juicier tones if you start blending in another microphone. So another thing you could do in Logic is you could go direct, and then by clicking direct here on your cabinet selection, and then you could put an impulse response loader here. There's plenty of free ones out there, and you could put on your third-party IRs. I use a lot of Celestion, so you could do that, and I have done that in the past, and I think personally it improves the sound. Okay, and lastly, just to clean up a couple of the sounds, there was a couple of frequencies I didn't really like, so I've pulled them out. So this is sort of right now what I've got to with Logic's Amp Designer. Okay, so let's move on to STL AmpHub and hear how this one sounds. So for me, this is a night and day comparison. I would personally pick the STL AmpHub version of a Marshall amp sim over the Logic one. I think it sounds better, it's more articulate, it has that gain, that crunch that I felt like I was really looking for and I couldn't quite find in the Logic one. And there is still the ability to put a Tube Screamer-ish green pedal before it and get a little bit more saturation. I'll just toggle that on and off so you can hear the difference there. In my opinion, that's a really nice pedal. That's a really nice way to, again, get a bit more crunch, but it doesn't get fizzy, you know, it still has that articulation. And then just lastly, I've also got a couple of frequencies that I pulled out that are bothering me, although I'm not hearing them so much now, but perhaps I will when I put this back on. Yeah, so obviously you can change that to taste. That is a very subjective thing with those frequencies and even the Tube Screamer pedal before it all. But this is a good sound. I like this sound. STL AmpHub also allows us to add impulse responses from a third party far more easily than Logic does. So instead of having to go direct and turn on a IR loader, we can just go straight here and choose our third party impulse response. So I am in no way saying Logic's Amp Designer is a bad feature. In fact, I've used it many times, and like I say, there is another video I've done with it, and I really like the track that I did with it, and I got inspired and I liked what I put together. However, with other companies coming out with their own amp sims and you name it, and the tech they have, this does make me think with the next update that we get from Logic, whenever that might be, if they will update the Amp Designer and give us more features and, you know, more capabilities and more options. I guess we'll have to wait and find out. Okay, now just to finish today's video, now that you've seen a couple of the features and options from both different sides, I'm going to use the demo track to get a best possible sound I can from the Amp Designer in Logic and the best possible sound I can get from STL AmpHub, and you can choose which one you prefer. that about does it from me. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Hey, if you liked today's video, feel free to leave me a like. And if you liked it more than that, you might want to subscribe right here on Can't Afford to Record. Thanks very much for watching today. I'll see you soon.